there, friends, and welcome to Season 9 of the Lighting Your Way podcast. This season, we are continuing one of my favorite parts of the show, talking with patients about their own personal journeys through the healthcare system. These are real stories from real people, sharing the ups, the downs, and everything in between. It is honest, heartfelt, and as always, it's a reminder that no one walks this path alone. So join us as we shine a light on the challenges and triumphs of navigating healthcare. Here's to another season of connection, compassion, and hope. Hi, everyone. In our 9th season, we continue to talk with patients about their journeys through the healthcare system. And through the 9 seasons that we've been doing this podcast, most of those stories have involved great challenges. But this episode is a story of love and generosity, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Jim Walsh is a retired Local 19 sheet metal member who got part of a liver from his son during a very difficult time in his life. So I hope you enjoy it. It's a great story with thanks to Jim and to his son, Greg. Jim Walsh, welcome to the Lighting Your Way podcast. I really appreciate you coming on and telling us about your story. So thank you for joining me.
Oh, you're welcome, buddy. Nice to talk to you.
Yeah, I was introduced to you by one of our nurses, Jennifer Kenny, who is the retiree nurse at Sheet Metal Workers Local 19 in Philadelphia. And she gets to work with all the retirees. So congratulations, first of all, on being retired.
Thank you. Jen is the best. So I hope everybody else that needs help could get her, because she's the best.
Well, only the retiree members can get her. So we have 2 other nurses working at 19, but Jen's one of the 3 great nurses at Local 19. So Jim,
sure
what we're no, they are. They're fantastic, really. We have a fantastic team. So what we're doing this season, as we did last season, is talking with patients who, have had a particularly inspiring journey or difficult journey or just a healthcare journey, so that we can talk with them and you can share your stories, so that the folks that are listening can learn, from what you've experienced, and we can, just kind of share the story. So you're here because you've had a particularly challenging experience in the healthcare system. Why don't you tell us, tee it up for us, what happened?
Well, I had surgery, liver transplant, actually 1 year ago today.
Oh, wow. Happy anniversary.
Yes, yes, I can't believe how well I'm doing.
Wow.
My son actually saved my life. My surgeon told me I have 1 year to live if I don't find a living donor, because a regular donor, I would not be able to live long enough to get a regular donor. I needed a living donor.
Wow.
And my son stepped right up. I didn't even want to mention it to him, but my wife did. And both of my sons stepped right up, and my oldest son said, "I'm going tomorrow."
Wow.
And he did. Went and got past it, and everything worked out great for the both of us.
Wow. But, wow, Jim, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
that's wonderful. What a wonderful gift.
Yes, it was unbelievable. This time last year, I couldn't even walk without a walker.
And how old are you, Jim?
I'm 66.
Okay. And prior, so last year the surgery happened, the transplant happened on February 13th, but you said you were pretty debilitated prior to that.
Yes,
how long were you struggling?
I started out in May of, I think it was 22. And one day I got up, one night I actually fell asleep in my chair. My wife went up to bed, and I got up, turned off the lights, and I lost my balance, and I couldn't get up off the floor. I was so weak.
Oh.
And I called my wife on the phone, and she came down to help me. and I got back. I just said, let's help me back in my chair. And I got back in my chair. And the next morning she came down and she said, there's something wrong with you. And she called 911 and they took me to the hospital. And they thought I had a stroke at first.
Okay.
They did a lot of testing and stuff, and they basically found out that I had cirrhosis of the liver.
Okay. And prior to that, like were you going to like annual physicals with your doctor to like get blood work? Because that can sometimes be picked up on blood tests.
Yes.
Okay. And what, everything was good up until 22?
Pretty much, yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you feel like you're having a stroke, and the only symptom was weakness? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I thought I was just getting old. I mean, it was just like if I was kneeling down, like fixing something or whatever, I would have to hold on to something to get up.
Okay.
Or get someone to help me.
Yeah.
And
had you been retired for a while? Like, when did you retire?
I retired basically when COVID came about. I was working in Jersey. When people going over the bridge in the beginning. So basically I just went out with COVID and then I retired.
Okay. And so I retired basically 2 years ago. Okay. Right. And how many years did you have in the trade?
20 years.
Wow.
I got a late start, but thank God I did get into the union. I worked with sheet metal my whole life.
Okay.
But finally I got into the union and I worked 20 years. If I did not get in the union, I would never been able to retire. I would never.
Why?
I would still be working. Just because my pension and everything.
Okay.
My pension was one quarter of what I got from the union, from where I worked at another sheet metal place for 17 years.
Wow.
And my pension was nothing compared to what I got in the union, and not even considering my annuity and everything.
Right.
I would have had none of that, so I would have never been able to retire.
Is your health insurance through the union as well?
Yes.
Okay. Right. That's another big plus.
Yeah, I have that. I think it's called Blue Medicare.
Okay.
Advantage. Yeah.
Okay, so
they took care. I mean, that insurance. I had no problems at all with all my surgery and everything. Everything was covered.
Right. Okay, so in 22, you're taken via ambulance to a hospital. They do a diagnostic workup, and do they tell you at that point that your liver is shot?
No, they told me. I don't think, if I remember right, I came home for a little bit. They weren't sure what it was, but then my legs were swelling up and stuff after that. Then I went back and they kept me in there for a couple of days, and that's when they found out. They came and told me that I had cirrhosis of the liver, but they didn't tell me, that how bad it was or anything. I went to the doctor, if I could mention his name. He was great, Dr. Riera from Penn. He was great. He still is. I still see him, but not nearly as much now.
Okay.
But the first thing that we did was he said, okay, we're going to take an MRI of your liver and basically see how it is. And we're going to wait 4 months and see if it will regenerate, because liver is the only organ in your body which actually will regenerate itself.
Yeah. Isn't that cool? I love that. It's really a cool thing.
And it didn't improve at all in the 4 months. So basically he told me, your only step is to have surgery now, have a transplant.
Okay.
So pretty much that's when I went down to Penn. They did all the testing and stuff. And that's when I saw the surgeon. I went to Penn. They told me, be prepared. You're going to be here for 8 hours. And I went, and I couldn't believe how well they had it set up. I went from one doctor to another doctor, cardiologist, just doctor, just to see my health and everything.
Right.
And I went from one doctor right into the next one, and it was like, 15, 20 minutes with this doctor, right
Okay.
into, boom, boom, boom. And the surgeon was the last one I saw. And that's when it knocked me and my wife on the ground when he goes, well, you got a year to live. What? He said,
Yeah.
you can't keep doing what you're doing. He says, your organs are going to shut down before you can get a regular donor. And nobody will do the surgery because the rest of your body is going to be so bad that nobody would do the surgery.
Wow.
So basically that's what happened. It
Wow.
shocked the both of us, me and my wife. I had no idea that was going to happen.
Wow. Well, you were in the transplant section, right? And that's they really a lot of transplant centers, right? They want patients to do that workup, but it is a lot. I mean, it's a lot coming at you for 8 hours.
It was worth every minute of it. I mean, they were checking everything, and they did a great job. I mean, there was no waiting around or anything. They said what it was, and they did everything they had to do in that time. It was great.
And do you remember one of the things about liver transplant? They often calculate a MELD score. Did they tell you what your MELD score was?
Yeah, mine was like 16, I think, and the surgeon actually said to me, because it was so low, I would have to wait so long.
Right.
That's why he said if I don't get a living donor,
Got
by
it.
the time I waited that long, my body would shut down.
Right. I see. Right. Because
So
the higher, for the listeners, that the higher the MELD score, the more urgent the
Right.
transplant is.
I believe it goes up to 40.
Correct.
That's the highest number.
Very good, Jim. Nice. Let's see
Yeah.
that you're all that teaching during that 8 hours.
Yeah.
You can now.
Yeah.
So your wife and you were sitting there getting hit with a ton of bricks. The surgeon says, you need a living donor because it'll be quicker.
Yes.
And what was the process? Did he say, talk to your family? Do you have children? What was the process there?
He said, your family. I'm the youngest of 7, so none of my brothers and sisters or anybody could do it because there was an age limit of, I believe it was 40 years old.
Okay.
You had to be under 40 to do it, to offer a liver.
Okay.
And so my rest of my family was right away. I'll help you out. And I was like, you can't. So, and I really didn't want my kids to get involved. So I told my wife, don't tell the kids that I want a donor from them or whatever. But the surgeon said, you can go to like churches and you can go to community gatherings and whatnot. And people want to help each other. So, you go to a church Sunday bulletin, put your name in the Sunday bulletin, you're looking for a liver donor, maybe you could get help.
Right.
But my wife told my kids that that's what we were doing, and my oldest son said, just stop that right now. I'm going tomorrow to get tested. And that's what he did. So he stepped
How
right
old
up.
is
And
how old is your oldest?
He's 36.
Okay.
And I told him that I didn't want him to do it, and he basically said, Dad, I'm doing it. He says, first of all, I wouldn't be able to live with myself if you didn't get a donor and you died. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. And then he said to me, the next question is, if I had to have it, what would you do? If you could give it to me, you would do it, right? And I said, absolutely. He said, well, that's where I'm at, Dad.
Oh, tough question. He got you on that one.
I mean, he did. He made it easy on me. I mean, there was no going. And so he started getting tested, and they tested him for a long, long time. It probably took like 3 months. They tested every part of his body. I mean, he was, I said, well, great, when you get all done this, and if you get approved, you're going to be in perfect health. Because they did everything, and it was unbelievable how they treated him, too, when they make an appointment. If he needed an appointment or whatever, it was like, come in today, come in tomorrow, whatever, right away.
Okay.
When he went there was no waiting. As soon as he said he was the donor, okay, go right back to the doctors or whatever they were.
Right.
Parking and everything. Here's a pass for your parking, free. They just took care of him.
That's good. Well, as they should, right? I mean, when you think about the gift, even though he's your son, he's still giving you a huge gift. which is wonderful. So he gets approved, right? He gets approved for the transplant, for the donation. And then did you pick like the date, like let's do the 13th, or did the pen assign that date to you?
They picked it. We were actually scheduled to do it like I think a week or 2 weeks prior to this date. And then I got a call saying that someone from CHOP, they had to do an emergency liver surgery, so they had to cancel ours.
Oh, okay.
So they basically asked me. I said, sure. I'm not going to try to knock off a little baby, a child coming from CHOP. I don't need it done. It's not an emergency for me.
Right.
And they said, well, it'll only be like 2 weeks later or whatever, and that's what it was.
Okay.
So it was all planned out.
And how were you physically? Like, how were you feeling physically? Because obviously, if your liver was compromised and the doctor felt that it was urgent, like, how were you feeling during the months leading up to it? Were you becoming more debilitated?
I was really, really, really weak. Really weak. I was getting my stomach drained twice a week. All the fluids were not going through my liver. They were going in my stomach.
Right.
And the first time I had to have it drained, I didn't even know I needed this, but a doctor told me, you got to get your stomach drained. I forget what it's called, but it's a procedure. And so they drained my stomach. I couldn't believe they took out 9 liters of fluid.
Wow. Yeah, that's ascites, right? Does that ring a bell? Ascites.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Wow. 9 liters.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's it. I think it was like 20 pounds of fluid.
Wow. And that was...
And I was real weak.
Wow.
I couldn't walk hardly. I use a walker.
Wow. Yeah, and at that point, you were 65, right? So still, not 85. You were still, you should still be able to walk and do things.
Yeah, and I was always in pretty good shape. I worked all the time.
Right. So you have this. So how's your son at this point? Like, so the surgery takes place on the 13th, and I want to add the donor surgery that is all covered, right? He didn't have to use his health insurance, correct?
No. Yeah, right. That was all covered.
Right. And so the surgery takes place on the 13th of February, 2024, right? How long are you in the hospital?
I was only in the hospital for a little over a week. They told me it was going to be 2 weeks, but I got out early. My son also got out early. He was supposed to be a week, and I think he was only in there for probably like 4 days or 5 days.
Wow.
But he got out early. I got out early.
Wow.
And
that's great.
Everything went great. It was a very long procedure. Greg, my son, was eight hours, and mine was 13.
Wow. Wow.
And they told us that.
It's amazing, isn't it, Jim, when you think about it? Like that they can take a piece of his liver, give it to you, and his will regenerate, and yours will be working, and then wow. Well, really, it's a wonderful story.
His liver and me will grow back to a full liver also.
Wow.
So my liver is probably a full liver right now. And his is, I know his is because it was only probably 3-4 months. I think his was 91%.
Oh. Yeah, because they're testing, I guess, the diagnostic test, like an ultrasound or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so post-transplant, you're on medication, right? Anti-rejection meds?
Yeah.
And how has that been for you?
Yeah. Oh, it's good now. I started out, I was taking 16 pills in the morning and like probably 8 or 9 in the middle of the day, and then 10 at night every day.
Wow. And
now I'm down to, I take 7 pills. It's 5 different medicines. I take 3 of one medicine, tacrolimus, but I'm down to 7 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and just 4 at night.
That's great.
Yeah.
And how
So it's
is
not,
when did you start to feel good? Like, was it immediate post-op? Tell me,
yeah, I
like,
felt good right away.
wow.
I felt good, but I was still real weak.
Okay.
But I could tell I was feeling better. And right now I feel great.
Has your
I just
stamina, you're walking without a walker, I suspect.
I'm doing all kinds of stuff. It's unbelievable. I just moved into a new house November 7th.
Okay.
I ripped the kitchen apart. I ripped the bathroom apart. The kitchen's done already. I pretty much built a shed by myself, 16 by 12 shed.
Wow.
I built all the walls and everything, and then had family members come over and help me stand them up and put it together. But
Wow.
I'm doing all kinds of stuff.
Wow. Wow. That
Yeah.
is wonderful. Congratulations.
Yeah, we
Hey,
were on vacation in Seattle this summer, and I was doing real good then. And I told my son, because we were there prior to the surgery in the summer, and I was sitting on the dock. We had a house rented on water, and I had my feet in the water, and I got up on my knees on the dock, and I couldn't get up. I had to call my two boys to come help me. Then I stood up and he's like, "This is embarrassing." And my son Grant's like, "Dad, stop it." So this past summer, we were fishing and stuff on the boat, and I said to Greg, my son, I said, "Do you believe it, what you did for me?" I said, "You saved my life." And last year, this time, I couldn't even stand up. You had to help me. And he was like, "Dad, stop." I'm like, No.
Right. I don't make me cry, Dad.
I know. Now
Uh,
I thanked him again this morning. He said, "Dad, stop." I said, "No, I will not."
Jim, how else has your life I mean, obviously physically it's changed, right? But how
Yeah.
else has your life changed when you look back?
Uh, I don't. I feel a lot better. I feel my future's going to be longer, honestly, because I stopped drinking too. So I mean, that's a big part. It's a big change in my life,
Okay.
and I don't miss it at all.
Okay.
I,
Did you get
I
help for
don't miss
that?
it at all.
Did you go to AA or what's the
No,
Okay.
no. They told me in the hospital you got to quit drinking. That was the last time I drank.
Oh. Wow, congratulations on that. That's a huge
Yeah,
success.
yeah, yeah. I mean, well, my boys were just getting married, and they were coming up they weren't married yet, and I'm thinking, I want to see my grandkids.
Right.
So if I don't stop drinking, I'm not going to see them. So, and I have a 9-month-old baby now, two granddaughters, Jamie.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah. Thank you.
So are you so post transplant, you said you're still seeing the folks at Penn. How often do you see them?
Right now, I'm seeing Dr. Riera. It was every 4 months, and I go back in April. I just saw him not too long ago.
Okay.
And then after that, he told me it's going to be every 6 months. It will be
Oh,
6 months.
okay.
And then after that, it's going to be every year.
Great.
And Jen was so nice. The first time I met Dr. Riera was in Reading, because he only comes to Philadelphia once in a while, so his appointments were very taken up. So I had to go to Reading to see him the first time. And I got there, and Jen was there. I said, "Jen, what are you doing here?" I said, "I'm coming to see what's going on with you." I said, "It has to be like a 2-hour ride for you." And she says, "I don't care." And I couldn't believe it. She was there, and she was great. I
When
can't
did
say
you
enough.
when did you first meet her? Was she at your first admission to the hospital? When did you first meet her?
Well, she was there when I first. I think she was. I met her in the hospital when I was admitted into the hospital.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so she was with you for 2.5 years, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. It's the beauty of the MCC program, really, to have somebody with you, right? I mean, I know your wife went, your son probably went, but Jen's a dedicated nurse to the retirees, so
Yeah, yes,
she's your nurse
she is.
advocate.
Yeah, she was great. I know at least one time the doctor asked me, well, when was your last blood work or something? I forget what he asked. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe Jen, yeah, it was December 2nd. Yeah, thank you. She had all her notes down. She knew what was going on all the time.
That's great. Do you is your son doing well? Like no ill effects from the donation?
Yeah, he does have a hernia, which he's going to have surgery on.
Okay.
And it could have been from the surgery, they said, but they're not sure. But they're actually going to take care of him. The liver team and the hernia surgeons are all going to be together when he has this procedure, which is
Great.
scheduled for March.
Great. That's great. Sounds like it. We don't often hear about positive experiences, which is nice to have you on as a guest because it sounds like, except for the early admissions and the weakness and the debilitating, weakness that you couldn't get up, that you had a pretty, shall I say, smooth journey.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. After I had the surgery and everything was great. Just coming up to it kind of hit me pretty quick too. So. I mean, it wasn't like I was sick for a long time that I thought. I mean, obviously I was getting weaker and weaker. But I just thought I was getting older.
Right.
That's what was happening.
Well, judging by what you just accomplished with building, moving into your new home and building everything, it's not because you were getting older. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I feel great now.
Right. So, Jim, when you think,
I can tell you a quick story if you want to hear it.
Yeah, sure.
One of my new neighbors was walking his dog one day. I started talking to him. He said, I retired a couple of years ago. I look out my back window. His house is like back to mine. He said, I look out my back window and I see you working all the time. He said, I retired a couple of years ago. I don't want to do anything. And I said, well, this time last year I couldn't even walk.
Oh.
So I'm enjoying every second of this.
Right.
So
right.
You're going to see me working as long as I can.
Jim, are you involved at all in like the Gift of Life here in Philly? Do you speak to any groups at all?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yes, I don't speak with any groups, but I do I'm doing they do a survey or I forget what it's called, but they test me and stuff and to try to help other people, I think.
Okay. Right, because I think you would be a great spokesperson, right?
When I go to the doctor's office, it's like another appointment that I see people.
Oh, it's like when you, okay.
It's like a research type thing, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I would think that you would be a wonderful spokesperson. Just if a patient was having anxieties about going through it, certainly the living donor situation is unique, right? Because there's not a lot of those that are happening, right?
I'm actually trying to help someone right now. Jen asked me if I would talk to someone that's going through the same thing in the union. I don't know if I should say his name or not. Like maybe his first name. Would that be all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Roy. And Jen asked if he could call me, and I said, yeah, absolutely. So we talked a couple times, and it was just recent, not too long ago, that she asked me that. We talked a couple times, and he's having a rough time, and I wish him the best, and I hope I can help him when he talks with me. And I told him he can call me anytime he wants.
Good for you.
We've talked a couple hours, at least.
So besides that, like what if you had? You have an opportunity to talk for folks who are listening. So if there's somebody who's going through a tough time, what would you like to say to them when it comes to, being debilitated, not really feeling yourself, right? You're drinking a lot. What do you want to say to patients? Patients. I keep saying that. What would you like to say to folks who might be dealing with similar issues?
Well, it's tough to give someone advice without knowing what they're going through. Like Roy, he's having a tough time of it because he doesn't want his kids to be a donor, which I told him he should do what your kids want because they don't want to lose you.
Right.
They want you to live. That's why they want to do it.
Right.
So, I mean, it's tough to give people advice without knowing what they're going through, I would say. But I would definitely say you got to stop drinking and do what you have to do to continue your life.
Right.
There's no reason to just quit.
Right. Jim, what was the? I heard that when you talked about the other. What was your resistance to having your sons donate?
I just wasn't sure how well it would work for him. I mean, I didn't want to put him through a lot of trouble and have complications with him or whatever. But I felt better when I saw how much they were testing him and making sure he was the major thing in the surgery. They were testing him so much because he didn't have to do it. I did have to do it, so they tested me a little bit. They tested him an unbelievable amount because he didn't have to do it. So they wanted to make sure there wasn't going to be any complications or anything. So if you have someone that's going to offer to be a living donor and they get approved for it, then I would definitely go forward with it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you're a dad. You don't want to put your kids at risk for something that they could avoid.
Absolutely.
I understand. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let me ask you one final question, because I am really grateful both to your son and to you for speaking, but to your son for his courage and his love for you, clearly. What would you like to say to the folks at Penn who took care of you?
Oh, I couldn't thank people at Penn any more than what they were great. Everybody, from the time you walk into the hospital, they tell you where to go. I actually had people take me to where I had to go because I didn't know where I was in the hospital. They would walk me from the front desk to where I had to meet a doctor or whatever. Everybody was great, from the top to the bottom. Seriously.
Was that your first
recommend
experience at Penn?
Yeah, I never really had any serious problems prior to this.
Oh.
I mean, I go to Penn just to get my blood work now. Like you can go to LabCorp, you can go places right near your house. I go right to Radnor. I live near there.
Okay.
I go there. I'm in and out of there in less than a half hour. By the time I get home, which is about 20 minutes from there, I already have my reports of how my blood work is and stuff. They're unbelievable. Penn. Highly recommend them. I'd like to thank all the nurses in the radiology department at Trinity Health and Kristen. They were all very, very helpful.
You trust me, as a nurse and somebody who deals with a lot worse stories, it is a pleasure for me to hear how well you did, how smooth. I guess smooth is not. I mean, there's still some hiccups, I'm sure, but just that you did well, your son did well, that you're back to clearly 100%, and that you're now looking back on it gratefully and wanting to give back to other patients. So thank you for sharing your story with me and for being so open to talking about it.
Well, thank you. I'd like to do one more thing, though. I'd like to thank my son, Greg Walsh, again, for saving my life. Thank you, Greg.
Greg, great job. Nice job, man. Good man. All right. Thanks, Jim, so much for spending some time with me. And I look forward to hearing how you're doing in the future, maybe building some more sheds.
Yeah. It was a big one, so I don't think I'm going to build any more.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us this week. You can find the Lighting Your Way podcast on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and Stitcher. If you found our conversation helpful, please share it with your friends and leave us a review. You can learn all about how Guardian Nurses helps patients and their families when they need it most at our website, guardiannurses.com. So until next time, find some joy in your life and pet all the good doggies and kitties, and remember to tell your people that you love them.